Over the last 15 years of operating my baking business, I've been asked many times why I hadn't opened my own location or if I was planning to open my own location, a cake shop. And today I'm going to talk to you about why that answer has been no so far and may possibly always be no. At first, I followed the normal trajectory of starting a cake company. I started out baking out of my house and just grew it slowly and naturally for a couple of years. And then it was too much to stay in my house, and I was thinking, oh, I need to find something. And the heavens opened up, and friends of mine opened a cafe and said they needed someone to come help them with their baking, and in exchange, I could use their space. And that was perfect. So I went from my house to this shared location, and those seemed like normal steps to take, as you're growing a business. But then after a while of being at this second location, I started to think, now what? Now I'm supposed to take the next step. I'm supposed to open up my own shop because that's just how it's done. And for some reason, I just never felt 100% like that was my dream. When I really thought about it, it didn't fill me with excitement and joy. It filled me with fear and dread, to be honest. So today I'm going to share 3 reasons why I have made this decision so far, and hopefully you get something out of that. So the first reason is a big one, and it's money. That's, it all comes down to money. I live in a particularly expensive city. The rent here, commercial rent, home rent, everything, it's a very high rent city, and it is expensive. And starting a cake shop would require either finding a location that was already set up for that and, fixing it up, or starting from scratch and having to buy all that equipment. The startup cost was just prohibitive for me personally. I just did not have the money required to start up that kind of business. And commercial rents are crazy. So you would have to have enough money saved up, or, I would have to get a loan or whatever to have enough money to 6 months, just to carry me for 6 months. And it was just not possible. And adding to that, say I did start the cake shop, the overhead, the paying staff, paying the insurance, paying the rent, paying for the equipment, paying for fixing equipment that will inevitably break. Stuff always breaks down. You're always having to fix it. There's always something that costs money in these kinds of businesses, and that would require selling more. So you got to make more stuff to pay for all the things, to pay for your staff, to pay for yourself, to make a living. And to me, it seemed so daunting. It seemed so just prohibitive for me personally that I was never able to work my head around, how could I actually make this work without going into massive debt and then having no guarantee that I was going to make enough money to pay back that debt. So yeah, that was a big one. Secondly, the time versus income trade-off. This is big because, when you're starting up a new location, when you're starting up a new business, you can't expect to have any time off. You are going to be there 24/7. As the owner, I would want to take up as much of the work as possible so I didn't have to pay as much in wages, so that, I would have no freedom. And for me, it was the trade-off of sacrificing freedom for this thing that wasn't even I didn't even feel like it was my dream. That also didn't feel right. If this is really your dream, I feel like you don't mind. This is your baby. You want to put everything into it. And I just didn't feel that drive that this is my baby. I have always really liked the freedom of being self-employed, taking time off when I want to. That has been a real big benefit for me. So I realized that if I was going to do this, that was all going to fly out the window. And for me, it didn't make sense, plain and simple. And then, following this dream motif I've been talking about, this, for me, it wasn't my dream. And that phrase, if it's not a hell yeah, it's a no. Every time I thought about it, every time I was like, okay, let's seriously think about this, let's get past the fear and really look at, should I do this? Can I do this? Will I do this? And it didn't feel, in my belly, it didn't feel like the thing that was for me. And that made me feel bad sometimes. I was like, what's wrong with me? Am I a failure? Am I too scared? Am I not brave enough? I should face my fear and just do this thing because that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what they say. You're supposed to do this. And that pressure, either internally or what I perceived to be, what people expected of me, that pressure drove me into trying to figure out a way to push myself into it. And it felt like I was trying to fit into a mold that I just didn't fit into. And it caused some self-doubt, am I really, I'm never going to make it to the big time if I don't have this big fancy shop and all that kind of stuff. But I found out that the system that I have, this space that I'm renting with people that I love, these are my friends own this place. It's a super positive environment. It's a great place to be. This system works for me. And every time I looked at okay, what are the alternatives? How do I make this happen if I'm going to open up a shop? It just, I don't know. I kept finding out that what I had going already was better, more economical, better, just more open than any other alternative, basically. So another phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That kept popping into my mind. It's every time you look at trying something else, you come back to this well, it's not even close to what I already have. So I really came to appreciate the situation that I was in, how lucky I was that this opportunity came up exactly when I needed it, way back when in 2012, where I was going crazy because I couldn't fit any more stuff in my kitchen. And then, these friends said, hey, come work with us. And for me, that was the perfect thing. And even after all this time, 13 years later, they're still at the cafe. I'm still at the cafe. It's all still working. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the benefit of not having my own shop, which I haven't mentioned, is I'm the only one doing all the work. So yes, if I'm not working, because I don't have staff, it's just me. My company is just me. I do everything. If I'm not working, I'm not making money. However, I have total freedom of my time. As long as I can budget correctly, I've reached a balance of knowing how much I can do in a week, how many jobs I can take, what I can realistically take on. That's come over time, learning, how much can I personally produce in a week, so that I know how many jobs to book. Of course, I still mess that up all the time. I still overbook myself quite frequently, but the benefit is I can be at my workspace, till 4 a.m. if I want to. I don't really want to, but I can. If I need to get it done, I got the time and the space to do it, which is not necessarily true if you're renting a commissary kitchen. Nah, you got to schedule, you got to stick to it. And so, I have the freedom. I can say, I'm not working this weekend, I'm going camping. It's my birthday, I'm going to take these days off. My family is going on a trip. It's that freedom is very valuable to me. So that's what I want to ask you. If you're weighing this decision, if you're not sure, ask yourself, what do you value most? For me, it's creative expression and freedom. I get to make these amazing cakes all the time. My clients come to me with fantastic ideas. I get to make such fun things, and I get to do it on my own time. Like, I get to do it in a way that works for me, let's say. And that's what made sense for me. If you really feel it in your bones, I want this shop, I want this thing that is mine, that's amazing. I'm making this video for, for people who are maybe not sure, they don't know if it's the right path for them. So I'm here to tell you, you can follow your own path. It doesn't have to look like everyone else's path. And as long as you're getting out of it what you want, what you need, what works for you in your life, then it's right. Just do it the way that feels right for you. So I wanted to share this with anyone who might be struggling with this decision. I hope it gives you another perspective and some encouragement that you can do it your way and do it the way that feels right for you. All right, happy cake making.